The music didn't
I gotta
stop.
figure that out eventually.
Megan!
I know, I need help.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Virgo Live.
And in true fashion, we've like somehow magically made this happen on solstice, and that weird, what was it, like 2 years
ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, Julie and I were teaching Virgo things. It was 9 a.m. Salem was a baby. I used to like rock her and just be on a live teaching. You would just hear a baby in the background. So yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I was like, wow, like 2 years ago. And yeah, happy summer solstice, guys.
Yay! It's the longest day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it feels like a long day. I had to like lay down and take a little nap.
I wish. No,
I wish.
with littles, but you know, I slept a lot when I was pregnant, so I've like made up for it. But are you doing anything fun? Are you gonna like light any candles?
I don't know. I mean, I've pretty much been channeling all day and kind of in ceremony in the last 24 hours. So yeah, I kind of feel like a little bit drained because it's been a lot, but all good things. Yeah,
That's
all good
exciting.
things. Yeah.
Nice.
But I'm excited to talk about Virgo because, okay, first things I have to say, I have a note. Anytime that there's a man that doesn't believe in astrology, I'm 90% positive they're a fucking Virgo.
Possibly Capricorn, but most likely Virgo.
Oh my God, yes, also Capricorn men. It's so funny. And you're like, it's because astrology doesn't seem kind for you, but yeah.
You don't like what it says about you, and that's understandable because sometimes those two signs typically can be assholes with the masculine role.
Yes, that is very fair. And then the next funny part is anytime someone tells me they're a Virgo, I'm like, how's your gut health? And they're like,
I believe everything now.
Personally attacked. And I'm like, you have a lot of anxiety. It sits in your stomach. And they're like, how did you know? I'm like, literally the most Virgo quality ever.
I know, poor guys. It's, you know, the anxiety that runs through the Mercury energy is sad. But if you channel it correctly, you are a powerhouse of, you know, communication and all things. So I love, love, love Virgo women. Those are like some of my best friends. I'm gonna shout out T Bailey because she's like, I'm totally gonna tune in. She's like the smart. She also has her Mercury's in Virgo, and she is just the quickest to communicate. She can pop off with anything. She's so intelligent, and I'm always like, oh, if I would have just been like born a little sooner, I could have had a Mercury Virgo, and I'd be such a better communicator because we all know Libra is a struggle sometimes getting. I mean, you guys have been watching the lives for 2 years. You're very aware that I sometimes struggle to get the words out. To be fair, I've had 2 kids in this time frame, so I'm gonna throw that out there too. Because
you're doing the most and the best. You're doing
it. But I would have killed for a Virgo Mercury.
Yeah, now that you're telling me that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. My Mercury sits in the 6th house, but in Aquarius, and that's weird. I didn't really think about that.
Well, having Mercury in the 6th house is an advantage when it comes to communication because the 6th house is the home of Virgo energy, Mercury energy. It's ruled by Mercury. So when you have anything in your 6th house is going to indicate a better communicator, or however it is. If you have the moon in the 6th house, you may, well, depending on where Saturn is, but if you have your moon in the 6th house, you typically can express your emotions very well. Now, if Saturn is squaring that in a very negative way, then you might have the actual opposite. So, yeah. So if you're at home, if you want to pull out your birth chart, or if you want to look it up really fast, you can do a free birth chart, see what you have in Virgo, and see what you have in the 6th house, because that is what we're going to go over today. What do you have in Virgo? Do you have anything in Virgo?
Of course, my Saturn squares Mercury as
well. Fuck.
It was funny because I was literally talking to my partner earlier, and I was like, I feel like I know I have like so much I want to tell people, but it's all telepathically because I don't have the words for it. So like, if you guys could just like telepathically like understand what I'm trying to say, it's a lot.
Yeah, if you could just read my mind, that would be so much easier. Sometimes not.
Yes and no.
So your Mercury is in Aquarius?
My Mercury is, yes, in Aquarius.
That makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Does it?
Yeah, you're very direct. As
I am.
long as I've known you, you're very direct. And I've always associated that with Capricorn because Capricorns typically are direct. But actually, now that you say that, that is you have very eccentric, direct kind of way of thinking and speaking. So that makes a lot of sense because I've always been like, how did she end up here in this Capricorn? I'm curious, consistently working your whole life in the, being a I don't what is it? Stewardess? Is that a thing
Flight
still?
attendant.
Flight attendant, yeah. So I'm like, there's the consistency there, but the way that you have integrated other things into your life is very Aquarius. So that does make a lot of sense to me.
I am direct.
You are
Not a
direct.
lot of bullshit. I know. I'm like, I could be kinder. Yes, it is challenging, but I am trying to come from a heart-centered space.
I appreciate it. I say this every time. I love someone who can just say it for what it is, and at least I know where I stand. I'm never like, oh, I wonder if. No. I'm
Yeah.
like, you like that way.
Yeah, good. That's why I've lost a lot of friends.
Yeah, we've made it.
My bad.
So yeah, I was going to touch on a few things about my Virgos, my friends and family that I know. They're very organized. So these are just some characteristics of Virgo: organized, on their shit. We all know that. I wonder is what's the guy that always tunes in? I always forget his name. I think he's a Virgo. Alan. I hope Alan is watching, and I hope this is you. So very they have a lot going on upstairs. There's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of processing, typically really good with technology. Um, Again, just very organized. They take control, they're great leaders, they're innovators. And like I said, my Virgo girlfriends, I just love having conversations with them. The interaction, just the wit and all of that it kind of is inspiring. So I'm like, man, like I need to enhance my vocabulary for sure. Like it's one of those things. And then, yeah, all the Virgo males, like the masculine energy that I know, very direct, very take charge. I do sometimes get a mix. Like if I find a Virgo with a lot of air qualities, they tend to be a little more lenient, still direct, but it just kind of seems like they can flow a little differently.
That makes a
Um,
lot of sense.
yeah, so that makes, I think, it easier for Virgos just because anytime you throw an air element in your chart, it makes you just a little more easygoing. And then if I see a Virgo with a lot of fire in there, it's kind of the opposite. They tend to be more hot-headed, they're quick to snap at you or just a little more reactive. Um, so yeah, I think those two elements. I mean, water too can make them more emotional, but I don't think I've ever met a masculine emotional like feeling. I don't know. I just don't think that my
No.
father-in-law can be a little emotional. He has an Aquarius moon.
Excuse me.
So so it's kind of one of those things that I don't see it a lot in the emotions. I don't see a lot of emotions there with the masculine Virgo. My girlfriends,
Yeah, me neither.
they
I'll
can be a little
put up on like spreadsheets and nice compartmentalized tiny boxes and labels and like
Mhm.
spreadsheets and like data entry and like they're really good at like what's it called? Like computer programming,
Mhm.
design, things like that, where they have to like put things in tiny boxes and measurements and things.
Organization to the T. That is like all the things. So can appreciate it. We need Virgos in the world because we need things to be organized and we need structure and we need a plan. And Virgos, they have the plan.
Yeah, and when I see a Virgo out of alignment, I'm always like, "What's your routine like?" And they're like, "I don't have one." And I'm like, "Oh my god, your life would be so much better.
What are
You
you
thrive
doing?
on routine."
Exactly. Well, and especially, and we're going to go through some questions. If you are on our Facebook or Instagram, you saw that we have a little blurb with questions that we're going to ask. Feel free to send us questions. And if you have anything that you want us to specifically talk about, Julie and I are always open. Like if you're like, I have Virgo in this in the sixth house or the 10th house, or maybe it's not related to the house that we're going over, I'm more than happy to go through what that looks like. So we have a lot of people chiming in every once in a while to kind of ask questions. And it seems to be while we're in the show, and I am not, this is where Virgo would have been handy. I'm not good at reading your comments or questions while I'm trying to teach because then I'm like, oh, and then I go back and, you know, baby brain. That's what I'm going to say. So if you ask the questions before, I can implement them into the class, and then they're answered, and I'm not trying to go back and forth and everyone's questions. So just food for thought in the future. But I do get DMs. I do get a few messages from people asking afterwards. That's completely fine too. I answer as quickly as possible. So yeah, should we go through our little fun Virgo questionnaire?
Yeah. Do you want me to read?
I mean, you can just ask them nonchalantly or read them either way.
Okay, let me pull them up on my laptop actually, because that would just be easier. Pew, pew, pew.
My Venus is in Virgo and my Mars is in Virgo.
Oh, wow.
And my husband's Mars is in Virgo.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about a Mars in Virgo.
Yeah, we are very different at how we get things done, though. Our charts are very different. I mean, we have very compatible charts, but he is a Taurus dominant chart where I'm a Sagittarius dominant chart. So I will explain how we get to that and how differently, like, he's a processor. He likes to take his time. And I'm like, how fast can we do this? Like, I might have like left a mess, didn't pay attention, just messy in my pursuit. And he's more like, nope, we're going to do it this way. A little more Virgo-like.
Yeah, I kind of love that.
Yes.
I'm a slow processor too, and I'm wondering if that is part of that Virgo quality. I'm like, I like to take my time before I respond to like heavy shit, and I like to really like go through. If you ever get like an email from me or a long text from me, and it took 2 weeks, it's because I took my time. I'm a thorough processor.
I'm getting better at it, but I'm still quick to act on things, and I'm quick to, if something needs to be done, I need to get it done really fast. We go about things very differently, and that is the difference of somebody who is ruled by an earth slow moving sign versus a very fast fire sign.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we talked about Virgo traits. What makes Virgos such perfectionists? Like, do they go through the same childhood trauma?
So that is a great question. A lot of times Virgos, so they're ruled by Mercury, and they're also Virgo the Virgin, the maiden. And so when you think of like the maiden role, it's like this perfect, right? The Virgin is perfect, the maiden is perfect. And then you take the aspect of Mercury, which is like thinking. So they think and they process things. The way that it aligns is it creates this idea that they have to be perfect. And that's where the perfectionist comes from inside, living within them, because they, at a very early age, are truly kind of like people pleasers in a way, and they want to be perfect. And it's not really people pleasing. It's more of like the gratitude of like the way it makes them feel to have things accomplished, to have things organized, to have things in a way that people are like, oh, they enjoy the compliments and the way that it makes them feel to have everything organized. A Virgo, young Virgo, feeling like things are unorganized can be extremely detrimental. And just if their lives were chaotic, or if they went through all of this like crazy trauma as a kid where everything was unorganized, nothing was put together, the routine was off, then it can really cause them to kind of overcompensate for that as adult life. And then if they had structure and they had organization as growing up, they took that and they were like, okay, I really enjoy this. And so they continue that path. So either way, and I'm going to talk about things that cause Virgos, because I have met messy Virgos, believe it or not, and I'll tell you why. But, and we'll get to that when we get to Neptune and Uranus. But a lot of times, whether the Virgo child has a very organized life, they stay marching to that beat because they enjoy it. And if it was the other way around and they had a very chaotic life, they found a way to organize it, and they're so like in that mode of like, I have to do this because my childhood was so insane, that they all end up aligning pretty similar, whether the childhood was crazy or not. So that's what I've found in my study, is that they typically can have two different backgrounds. A lot of times you see like what people go through and how they transform throughout their birth chart, and Virgos typically, with a lot of Virgo placements, tend to end up in the same spot, whether it was chaotic or not.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, though. And I guess sometimes also some people that seem unorganized are kind of like unorganized, or like chaos witches, or they're like organized chaos is a structure that works for them and nobody else.
You're like, where is this piece of paper? And it's like 12 piles underneath something. And they're like, oh, it's right here. They know exactly where it's at. And that makes sense. And I think that's a whole nother childhood trauma thing. But
yeah,
with a lot of Virgo placements. So one way or another, you end up with this organized structure, routine life.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend that's a Virgo, she and I worked together. She was like 18. I think I was like 24, and she was just so like the best assistant ever. I was like, at first she drove me nuts because she was so excited about everything, and I was like, I can't handle your energy. I was like in a really dark emo phase at that point. And then she like came in with this like bright pink. She's always in pink and like bubbly and like the best personality. And I was like, no, this isn't gonna work. But through time, just seeing how organized she was and how she was like punctual, and she like, again, her vocabulary, just the way that she spoke and the way that she presented herself, I was like, I need this girl. Like, we are not the same and I need that. So we ended up working together forever. She's still one of my best friends. She nannied for my kids. Like, she just the best energy, and I love her. But she's on her shit, and she's in marketing, and she's in like advertising, which is perfect for a Virgo because communication sells, all of that. She could sell anything to anyone because her, we'll have her on one time. You have to just experience her energy because she's just so smart.
I would love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess we talked about characteristics of an evolved Virgo. Any characteristics for unevolved Virgo?
Virgo is an earth sign. And a lot of times earth signs, they're very practical, which is great. I love practicality, but sometimes you can ignore the emotional aspect of things. So a lot of times Virgos, along with their Taurus and Capricorn earth friends, can tend to just rationalize things in a very like practical way versus an emotional way. And so I would say a Virgo that's unevolved denies feelings and just makes everything a practical like response of like, oh, well, this is why this happened. And even though they may need to feel that, they don't process, they just go straight to the logic of it. So I would say that would be a characteristic. I would say over organizing, over planning, the need to control things. I mean, Virgos, the anxiety and the the gut health that you were talking about earlier, it really stems from that anxiety for that need to control. If they don't have control of everything around them, then it's such they internalize everything. And so it's very important to make sure that you're checking in with your gut health. For one, feel the feelings, process everything, get through it. And then for two, don't hold on to everything, let go of the control, understand that you cannot control everything. You just can't. And so I think that is a sign of an unevolved Virgo, being able to, or not being able to let go and just release and let things be. I think, those would be the top things I would say as far as a Virgo that is unevolved.
Sorry, 1 second. My cat needed to come inside.
Oh, you're good.
The door slammed and he was like, I've been locked out.
Help.
Yeah, I feel like you're also like speaking to me directly, because I was like, if you don't process your things, life will make you process them.
They will be back. So yeah, process, but it's hard. It's hard for Earth signs. You're a Capricorn. It's hard for you to like, well, this makes sense because and this is logical and I don't need to feel it. I'm just going to think it. And sometimes your body is like, no, we need to work through this. I'm holding on to things. So
yeah, facts. Okay, we kind of talked about Virgo and Mercury. Is there anything else you wanted to add about Virgo and Mercury, or we'll just keep probably going with it?
No, we can keep going. Again, it would just be, I would give a lot to have my Mercury and Virgo. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
If you have it in there, you're very fortunate, and you should thank the universe for blessing you with intellect in that form.
Okay, what's the saddest part of being out of Virgo and Venus?
So
that feels hard.
It is so hard. So Oh, I guess I should have added this for one of the unevolved characteristics of a Virgo. So they can be very critical of people. That is a known fact. Virgos, they have high standards and they have high expectations. And when you have high standards and high expectations in your birth chart and your Venus is in Virgo, it's either all or nothing, or you date a bunch of people and you find faults in every single person.
Super critical.
Super critical, which, Virgo does not, Venus does not thrive in Virgo. It's not a feeler, it's not a lovey planet. There's like so much logic and so much thinking and so much processing in the sense of like non-emotional things that it's like, on top of the being very critical and on top of like over analyzing people, it's just a disaster. I have a Virgo Venus, and I will say I have been very good this past 5 years of working through my being critical and being more, I mean, I haven't in the past because we all know I've had multiple failed relationships. So, and it's little things that I'm like, I didn't like the way you did that. So I'm out, And so it's kind of like I've had to learn to really, either be all in or not be in at all, because the wishy-washy, I mean, I'm a Libra sun too, so that doesn't help. I'm just like, yeah. So Kim Kardashian, she's a Virgo Venus. So if you look at a lot of her relationships, it's like, okay, I see. I mean, she's been married, I think, like 4 or 5 times. And even just watching the show, like I love to watch them just off of the study of astrology because they're all different signs. I know all their birth charts, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. It's just entertaining it from an astrological standpoint. But, just seeing Virgo Venuses, there's a few of them out there that I'm just like, oh, it's going to end. They're not going to make it. They're just going to be way too critical, way too judgy. And, it's a hard placement. Not recommended.
It feels very similar to a Venus in Capricorn.
Yeah, it is.
Which is unfortunately.
And you should be picky. You should be picky. But when you're criticizing the person for everything that they do, that can't be good. And there's no one that's going to be perfect. So
I did break up with a guy once because he brought home the wrong type of soup. I was like, well, if you can't follow simple directions, this is never going to work.
It's shining so bright. Yeah. I broke up with a guy for not wanting to buy a lawn chair to sit at my son's game once. He's like, "Mom, I'm just sit on the bleachers. I don't want to pay for a lawn chair." And I'm like,
this isn't going to work.
This isn't going to work. I think, no, seriously. It's the little things that I'm like. And so when I find someone, like my husband now, he's a Taurus Venus, Virgo Venus, very much aligns. I'm like, oh, like none of those things bother me. He's on point with things. So that's great. But yeah, there's that just like overcritical of like little things that will drive a Virgo Venus crazy.
Yeah.
Or Capricorn Venus. We'll just touch on that while we're here.
Oh God. Yeah. Says Virgo Mars make up for Virgo Venus.
Yes. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier with my husband and I. We both are Virgo Mars, but where his chart is a Taurus dominant chart, mine is Sagittarius, we take action very differently. So typically a Virgo Venus is someone that's going to take charge and, make, you do this, you do that, you're here, you're there. And we both have that. We do have that. And I've seen both of us shine differently in different ways. But again, this all depends on your chart, where we have different charts. Mine is a little faster. Mine is more about, it's more messy getting things done. His is slower and more tidy, but I get to the end result faster. He gets to the end result cleaner.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so typically if you have a Virgo Mars, you have a way of processing things while you're getting things done. Something can happen, especially things that happen that are I'll use a burning building. There's a very logical process of someone with a Venus and Mars. They're going to be like, okay, you do this, you take care, call the police, and we do both. When something chaotic happens, we are both like in the moment making, demands, and that is something I really value. So yes, my Virgo Venus sucks, but my Virgo Mars makes up for that, and mine are both in the ninth house. So if you take your Virgo Mars and you look at the house it's in, that gives you a really good advantage of how you move through that house. So ninth house is travel, ninth house is education. I have a when I travel, especially I'm in Utah right now, guys. So I just traveled from Oklahoma to Utah with two small children, and I packed our bags. I made sure it's like getting everything ready, what snacks we're going to take, who needs this, like we have to be here at this time. My daughter's going to drop me off, pick us up. All of that I love it. I love it. And my husband's in the space of like, you can do all that. He does not care. But me, I'm like, I want to make sure we have everything. I literally brought, I think, my whole closet, but things for the kids and just different things that I'm like, oh, we're going to need this and this. And I thrive in that. I thrive in traveling. Anytime I've ever traveled with friends, now this is very different. Ninth house is very different than third house. So I'm going to say this because I've brought up like how I've showed up to the lake without snacks before. Third house would be a quick, short trip to the lake. I'm talking like travel. Like you're in a plane and you're in another location. I'm the queen of getting everything together and making sure we have everything, not the lake snacks.
Yeah.
Those are where my Cancer friends come in really handy.
That's so funny.
And so,
so I think people who bring snacks are usually the earth signs or the water signs. The fire signs always forget snacks.
And the air signs, forget it. What are they there for? A good time.
A good time. Yeah.
We're entertaining.
It will not be boring.
No. So, and same with the fire. I mean, they bring entertainment and a whole nother aspect. And you know what? If you need to build a fire or something like physical needs to be done, I find that the fire signs are super handy. And if you just want someone to stand around and talk to everyone, then you get an air sign.
Yeah. That's the fucking truth. Virgo and Jupiter.
Not the most lucky placement. But, depending on what house it's in, let me think of something. Let me think of an example. If you have Virgo and Jupiter in your third house or your 11th, well, let's do third house. So third house is ruled by Gemini, Mercury, or the sixth house. The sixth house is kind of a hard house. We're going to go into the sixth house a little more than I have the other houses because that one's a little more difficult. But if you were to have Jupiter and Virgo in the third house, this would be someone that probably had a really good childhood, someone that really embraced their childhood friends, excelled in school, which we all know if you excel early years, it makes it just so much easier to do better in life. You're prepared, you have great grades. Once you get to middle school, you kind of keep that trend unless you go down the wrong path. But so Jupiter is very vast. It's the largest planet. And when you have Virgo and Jupiter, it doesn't signify a ton of success, but it does signify good luck in certain areas. And again, third house, we're going to say your neighborhood growing up, your friends, your school, the childhood. Also Virgo and Jupiter in the fourth house could mean an abundance in family, and you might be the communicator for your family. You could be, this would be a good example of someone who's like a royal family, but they're like the spokesman for the family, or I don't know if that's even a thing, but you know how you have like people in the family that speak for the family, and they're that person, and that would be that kind of energy. So not the worst. Eighth house, Virgo, Jupiter in the eighth house. It would depend on which degree it's in, but I would say that this person could have some heavy energy around death. Some people kind of fly through. Eighth degree, very specific.
Yeah, I read earlier, and I was like, I'm gonna have to ask.
I think that this person would have a hard time grieving loss. This person would, like, things could happen. It could be the opposite depending on things in the chart. It could be that you could be in luck that you don't lose a lot of people because, Virgo in the 8th house, Jupiter being luck, it could be that you never lose anyone that you're close to for a long period of time. You could have placements that really protect for that. If it's not, maybe it's like a hard square with Saturn. You could have a really hard time with creating wealth. You can have a hard time. Like the 8th house is other people's resources. So you could inherit some sort of inheritance, but it most likely would be through something that was more, let me think of the word for this. Like if you think of people that have created an app or something that's very like technology based, that would be a way to create abundance, like and receive wealth from another source versus like you making the money. It would be like someone created an app and you were maybe married to that person, or it wouldn't be you directly. You would be receiving income from someone else, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah. Is that yours?
No, that was a chart that I read earlier that I was just like stumped on. I was like, actually, I have no idea. I'm gonna have
to. We're gonna ask. Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing there's a live tonight.
Got you.
And it's actually trined with or sextiled with Saturn.
Okay, so like I said, there will probably be some point in their life where they will receive success. And again, I use money as success a lot, right? But success could really be happiness or peace, or it doesn't have to be a financial success. It could be success from anything. And so I use money, but take that like, oh, I get maybe someone gives you peace in your life. Maybe I don't know. Like I watch a lot of kids cartoons these days. So I think of like Moana's grandmother. Like she didn't give her like things, right? She didn't give her financial success, but she gave her this like culture and like this purpose. That is a huge gift.
Yeah.
That is success, understanding your purpose and finding it. She brought that to her. That's probably a really good example of something other than money to use there.
Yeah, I like that.
You see Moana,
Yeah.
It's easy to use finances. It's easy to use money as like, because people are like, oh, that's you're rich. But like there's so many ways to be rich. You can be rich and filled with love and peace and peace. Like I think that's the most successful thing, is just having peace. Like if you have peace, you're chilling.
Amen to that. Why wouldn't you want your Saturn in Virgo?
I wouldn't want my Saturn in Virgo in the 6th house, because I think that Saturn is the teacher. Saturn teaches us where we need to grow, pushes us the hardest. And you think of Virgo, there's a lot of mental things there. There's a lot of mental, and like depending on your chart, I don't want to say this and someone be like, oh, there's a lot of room for mental health here, because Saturn wants to teach you, it wants to push you. And Virgo being ruled by Mercury, surprise, Virgo being ruled by Mercury, it's all about, how you think, how you process, and having that Saturn in that place can be a challenge, especially in the 6th house. The 6th house, it's a tough one. When you have a lot of planets in the 6th house, it can mean a lot of mental health. It can mean a lot of issues. It can mean that, you're not aligned with how you think and how you feel. And especially when you take someone with that placement and they have maybe like like an ascendant that's very challenging, that doesn't give them like this, like, let me think. Like if you were to have a Gemini ascendant and you were to have a lot of 6th house placements, there's a lot of room for inconsistency, which does not sit well with Virgo. I mean, it would just be, and Virgo and Gemini, they square each other. And so that's a challenge. Like Gemini, there would be this person that would have this internal, I want to be free and I want to, explore things, and they're excited and they have this childlike way about them. And then you have Saturn that's in this hard place of like, no, we're going to be serious. We're going to take care of business. We've got shit to do. it doesn't align. It's very challenging. And again, there could be other things that can change that. I don't want to stress anybody, any of you Virgo Saturns out there out. I'm not trying to stress anybody out.
Anymore than they already are.
Should have been like, take a Xanax before this live or something, like calm down, maybe meditate, breathe, something. So, but I felt myself getting anxious because I'm like, oh God, I'm stressing people out. I can feel it. But it's just a hard placement. So it's one of those placements that if you have a Virgo Saturn, it can just be a lot of mental struggles, and you might have issues with staying in on your task, your routine. It's like some people that really need routine. This is a person that would really need routine. Saturn would probably show up every time and bam, no routine, bam, no routine. And you're just like, what the hell? And that causes, you see people that just always struggles their life, and you're like, why can't you get it together? Like, what is going on? But I'm telling you, there's places in people's charts where I'm like, you were meant to struggle this life. I am so sorry. I hope you make it through, and I hope you figure it out, but you're probably not, because Saturn is there. Like, mine is in Scorpio. We all know yours is too. Both of us have our Saturns in Scorpio. We are meant to transform and go through shit all the time. And I'm 40 and I'm still going through shit. So
yeah.
The roller coaster, the Saturn roller coaster.
Yeah. Side question: Saturn in Cancer in the 6th house.
I would say there's a heavy problem, childhood routine. Maybe the mother was a little off. Big things with family and that, and routine. And so Cancer, anytime, there could be a loss of a parent. I don't know. At an early age with that, depending on other things in the chart, that's one of those things. And I never talk about that, so I don't even know why I would say that. But I try not to talk about death because I think that really freaks people out. But yeah, Saturn in Cancer is really hard in the 6th house. It can even throw more challenges in there because not only is Cancer your home, mother, childhood, things like that, you throw it in the 6th house where Saturn is teaching you, it's probably just a hard upbringing, I would say. And I would also say that throughout life, this person, a lot of times I see Cancer Saturns, depending on their placements. If you have a lot of water placements, I would say this is one of those people that can be very bitter and just like, down, more of a downer. If you have like a Sagittarius, Gemini, air qualities, maybe some fire in there, maybe not Leo, but it could be lighter. But I would say very inconsistent childhood and issues with mom, or struggle with mom. Maybe not issues with mom. Maybe there's a lot of love with mom, but mom wasn't consistent or couldn't show up or something along those lines.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know if it's personal, sorry.
No, I mean, no names are being spoken, so I'm asking specific questions.
No, that's good.
Is Virgo an intuitive sign, and could Neptune help this?
Typically, a lot of times, Virgo's logical thinking gets in the way of their intuition. Not always. I would say if you are a Virgo with a Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio moon, it is very probable that you have a very strong intuition. A lot of times, this is how Virgos think. They know the end result. They know what's going to happen. But it's not an intuition thing. It's because they've seen it before. They're very hard to get out of their patterns of like, oh, I know what's going to happen here because something happened, not because of like an intuitive feeling. Now, other things in your chart can change that, but typically 9 times out of 10, it's because they've seen it before, or they've seen something similar, or, they're always like, this is how this is going to end. Now, if that were Neptune can sometimes make that worse. to where it's more of an illusion, or they can maybe they don't feel that way. Maybe they're more like, oh, this is going to be great, or oh, this is going to be horrible. There's like an illusion there because Neptune is a little sleepy, dreamy. Virgo's not sleepy, dreamy. So there's a little bit of conflict there. But I would say it probably doesn't help it. And it could soften the, well, we're all going to die energy, which is true. We're all going to die. So, I mean, they're not wrong. But, I mean, it's like, well, maybe we live to be 100. Nope. It's not kind of energy.
Facts. Facts based on past.
They're just logical. They're just logical thinkers. So sometimes if something's happened a certain way, they're creatures of habits. They are a mutable sign. I haven't mentioned that. There is a flow to them. They're not fixed, so they're not that stubborn.
That
But
does surprise me. That does surprise me.
Yeah, Virgo is to me the least mutable sign that it seems mutable, but it's more of a fixed sign. But
yeah, do people in Virgo Uranus end up being messy? She laughs.
But here's the thing. This is what I was going to get to earlier when I was like, oh, I'm going to bring this up. Uranus is a rebellion planet. It is defiant. It is all things opposite of what each sign is true to. We've gone over Virgo as neat, they're tidy, they're organized. When they have this placement, and I guarantee you, if you've ever seen a Virgo or anyone that's like super messy, I look a lot of times at their Uranus to see if it's a Virgo, because I've found that they are always messy. I'm like, what? They're rebelling against their own nature. They're like, I'm not going to be tidy. I'm going to rebel. And so, like last month we talked about Leo's Uranus being, incarcerated. This is very similar, but they are just defiant and they're going to do exactly what they want and be as messy as possible. I have found this placement is a recipe for a messy Virgo or Capricorn or Taurus or any sign that thinks that they're tidy. This placement is a hard one for being tidy.
Interesting. Very interesting. What generational themes would be Virgo and Pluto era? Time for self-expression.
I would say this would be organization and controlled, a little fear-driven. I don't like to say that any sign is fear-driven, but there's that nervousness, right? There's that nervous way about Virgos that, Mercury is all things communication and intellect and all of that, but there is that nervousness. And so I would say this would kind of be a fear-driven. And I need to look because I think we're touching into where we have history of like Virgo, Pluto. It's the furthest planet out there. It happens every so often. And so I need to dive into that. I feel like it would be like the 1800s. Hold the thought. We have 15 minutes. So I'm going to make this quick. When was Pluto last in Virgo? Oh, 1956. I'm like 1800s. It's not been that long. Okay. So just think of the things that happened around that time frame. I don't know. You guys out there, you Google what events that happened. A time of fear, a time of control, but also I'm sure there was some like technology things coming out about that time, or some things, innovated ways that we did life around that time. So
interesting.
All
right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we're going to move to the 6th house. So it's not one of the major houses. As we've spoke about, the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th are the major houses. Those are the big life things. 1st is self, 4th is family, 7th is relationships, and 10th is career. So those are like the big themes of your life. The 6th house and the 12th house, they completely opposite of each other. So when you have a lot of planets in the 6th house, depending on what the planets are, it can be a lot of mental stimulation and a lot of anxiety, a lot of, I think this is like intrusive thoughts territory and just things that depending on what planets are there. And we're going to go through it. I'll let you read the question so I can kind of touch on what planets in there. But it's mental health, it's employees. If I have like one of my really good friends, she runs a business and she always struggles with employees. And I'm like looking at her chart, I'm like, oh, Saturn is in the 6th house.
Oh.
That's not good. And so, but I mean, she struggles with employees. They never seem to work out for her. And so there's like this battle, and she is a Pisces. And so it's kind of like there's that, opposite polarity thing happening there. There's a lot of things with that, but it can be really hard if you're someone who runs a business, or if you are in a manager position, or you have people under you. You might really struggle with the people under you not, following direction, or not, doing what they're supposed to, or giving you a lot of pushback. And so it's that kind of energy as well. Pets are also in this house. So routine, Mercury energy. So thoughts, not feelings, thoughts. Sorry. I'm just going to my list. Thoughts, feelings. No feelings.
No feelings. Virgo, some insight on Virgo sun in the first house.
So the first house is of self. And so if you think about a Virgo sun who thinks, organizes, this is somebody who probably has a really good, healthy diet. This is probably someone with a really good routine. They probably work out. They probably have a nice body. Their physical features are probably sharp, like I would say like a pointy chin, nice cheekbones, just really with it. I mean, Virgo, I would love this placement actually. If I were a Virgo, I would want my sun in the first house, because you're very routine driven. You're very like health conscious. You're very aware of who you are in a logical way. You're someone who can push yourself. Like you get up in the morning and you do the damn thing, and that is life. It's a good placement to have. I know. Tune in. Please tell us how great your life is.
What would be a good sign for Virgo to have in the second house?
I mean, a Virgo sun wouldn't be bad in the second house. The second house is like Taurus energy. It's very earthy, money, possessions. And anytime you have another earth sign in there, it complements that. I would say a Virgo Mercury wouldn't be bad in the second house. The way you communicate, it's probably how you make your money. You could be like there's a ton of things you could do with communication to make money, but that would be probably your source, would be communication of some sort, maybe IT, or just anything that's technology, basically, would probably really light up that house. I wouldn't want Saturn there. It'd probably mean that you don't make a lot of money, but depending on other things.
Yeah.
I hate Saturn in the second house.
Yeah, I haven't seen very many of those, at least in the charts that I've been reading.
I just did it recently for my friend, and she likes men with money, and I was like, I don't think he's going to be the one. I wouldn't recommend this one. She's like, he's poor. I'm like, I know. He's probably not going to not be poor for a while. But you know what? The good news is that does transit at some point. It's just going to come later in life. So
yeah,
I try to stay positive, but I don't think she's going to wait for that. So second return is going to be way better than the first.
Oh, bless. Does Virgo in the third house mean they were a bossy sibling?
I think that was the Leo one. That was maybe not. Okay, so Virgo in the third house, they could have been bossy. They were probably just more, not like Leo bossy, like listen to me because I'm the Leo and I'm the boss of everybody. It was more like, I need to make sure that we're all like in line, in order. It was more of a making sure everybody just is doing what they need to do and has everything that they need. Just looking out for everyone, not just to be bossy, but with a plan and a motive to just, make sure everybody's lunches are packed, not that the parents wouldn't do that, but this is probably energy of it, the kid that was like, oh, you forgot yours,
Yeah, that
looking
makes
out, not bossy in a bad way.
structured.
Structured bossy.
Oh, what would you say about Virgo? I think we kind of talked about Virgo in the fourth house.
Yeah, Virgo in the fourth house can be, again, the communicator of the family, somebody who makes plans, makes, like, I would say this is the person that does the, like, handles everything after parents pass kind of energy. It's the person that like organizes everything, like divvies out everyone's money and things. It's just that kind of energy. It's they control the family, they run the family, and not control. I tried not to use control this whole time because it's not really control. It's for the best. Like I think that their intentions are genuine. They want to do like the best for their family because they are family
Yeah,
mostly oriented.
that makes sense. I'm sorry, I was looking at charts real fast.
Oh, you're good.
Is Virgo uncomfortable in the fifth house?
Yeah, I would say it depends again on many things. I say that a lot, but I want to say that before I say something bold. Like, the fifth house is fun. And
Yeah,
Virgos have a hard time having fun. I mean, they do. They're very logical and they're very, like, on a mission to get things done. And the fifth house is all about play, it's all about pleasure. It's just a very fun energy house. And Leo's, it's ruled by Leo. Virgo, the next sign, they take things serious and they don't like a lot of horseplay. And that's kind of what the fifth house is.
that makes a
So,
lot of
yeah,
sense.
not comfortable.
Tell us about the moon in the sixth house.
So I have, I think, 4 or 5 people. So my kids, I think I have 3 kids and my husband all have moons in the sixth house.
Oh wow.
There is a very need for organization for this placement. Um, it can be heavy. I mean, the moon, how you feel in this house of, I want to be careful how I say this, but it's the moon is in a house of thought, process, thinking, and the moon is a feeler, it wants to feel, and so it doesn't align very well. It's very challenging, and the way that these two, the moon in the sixth house, the way that it can, process things and work through things is very challenging. It's a struggle. It's a thought to heart struggle. Like what I feel is different and aligns differently with how I should feel. And so it can be a challenging. I do see that the different, like my different kids and my husband, their emotions are all very different, and some are a little heavier. Some are like Scorpio moons in the sixth house versus a Libra moon in the sixth house. So there is like that depth that's a little different in how they process things. It's very interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Do you feel like they would be good compartmentalizers?
Yes, and there is also an ability to make feelings logical. Where, I mean, again, it's the Libra moon is more flowy, struggles, but I see the Scorpio moon, internalize things differently. They both internalize things and they both have that thing, but it's different. It's a different type of internalizing. So,
Interesting.
yeah, but they do compartmentalize for sure.
Yeah. Virgo sun in the seventh house. Let's see.
So this would mean that their rising would be a Pisces. And so anytime I see a seventh house planet, I go directly across the circle to what's going on there. And so you think of your sun, how you think, and your rising is who you are to your core of your soul. when you have a beautiful Pisces spirit that is free and loving, and then on the opposite end, you have a sun in Virgo in the seventh house, it's conflicting. Who you look for in a partner and who you really are very much a struggle. The seventh house is partnerships. So if you think about it in the sense of like you were looking for someone who's organized, structured, um, driven, all of these things. Not that Pisces aren't driven because they are, but you're looking for someone very practical, and you are the opposite of practical because of this chart makeup. So that can be challenging. I mean, a lot of times I see like, someone with an Aries rising and a Libra, something in the seventh house. I'm like, okay, there's some grace there. This one is not a lot of grace because one is so strict and one is so free. It can be very challenging. Are we cutting out?
Yeah. Interesting. Is Virgo sun in the 8th house dark girl energy? I think so. I'm not really sure why either. I'm not that far from the internet, so I'm not sure why this is going so crazy.
I was like, I don't know if I'm cutting out.
Is Virgo sun in the 8th house dark girl energy?
Absolutely. So when I see a Virgo sun in the 8th house, they very much practice occult.
Let me get closer to my Wi-Fi.
Okay. And we're almost at time too. So I think that we've covered a lot of 6th house. And so it wouldn't be the end of the world if we had to cut it.
Yeah. Is this better?
Yeah, that is better. But yeah, it is. Virgo sun in the 8th house is very much dark girl energy. Think of the 8th house, that's Scorpio energy. It's death. It is occult. It is all things underground. So yeah, I would say this person probably practices heavy witchcraft, maybe darker, because Virgo has a darker aspect to them as well. They're not very light. Sometimes given a lot of lightness in their chart, but I mean, a lot of times they tend to have a heavier energy, a darker energy. So yeah, definitely witchy girl energy or guy energy.
9th house.
So Virgo sun in the 9th house. I would say this is like a great traveler, someone who's well versed in probably many different languages. Like they probably go to all the countries, speak all the languages. It would be a good one to have. Like if you were to have a Virgo sun, the 9th house would be a really good one. Your communication and just mental stimulation, all of that is just like thriving. It's in the house of Sagittarius, which does square Virgo, but it's also very complementary because they're different. One likes to explore and be a little silly. It could bring out a lighter side to a Virgo sun.
Oh, that's really nice. And then Virgos and their professional endeavors in the 10th house.
This is a good one too. Virgo loves professions, like loves structure, loves climbing the corporate ladder. I mean, they are consistent. They show up. They're there daily. They love their routine. And so this is like perfect for, someone that is in corporate America or some sort of job that, just showing up consistently, you're going to stay there forever because they want the consistency. But they're also really hard workers. So this would be a good one. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend that I'm like obsessed with, that's a Virgo, I'm pretty sure that her sun is in the 10th house.
Oh, that's cool. I think that would be a good one for sure. Well, both 9th and 10th seem like a really good vibe. Yeah. Virgo in the 11th house.
This one is a little more challenging. 11th house is friends, humanitarian work. Not that Virgos can't be humanitarians, but they can be a little more like, I don't want to say me because they very much value their family, but I don't see a lot of Virgos venturing out into the world to save the world. There's not a big humanitarian thing there. They do like their friends. I do think that, it's probably a really good, healthy friend group that this person would have, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's bad. It would be easy.
It would make sense, like a smaller circle versus a wider circle.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're not entertaining everyone. They have their friends that they trust, which takes a lot Virgos can be very skeptical. Again, it's that like, I've seen this before. This person's this because I met this person that was that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then Virgo in the 12th house. I'm curious as hell about this one.
Again, it's the opposite. You know, like you think of Pisces energy. When you put Virgo, who is very structured, thoughts, all the things in the house of daydreaming, and, you know, it can be challenging. I think there's also this kind of like beauty to it that this person could be a Virgo that's very, I would think of like a poet, someone that can put pen to paper, write the most beautiful poems, because Virgos don't naturally have that ability to be like this artistic, but I think that this house channels that for them. So I've never met an artistic Virgo, now that I'm thinking about it. But if I did, I would pretty much be very curious if their sun was in the 12th house, because this would bring this more mystical presence, this more divine goddess energy than like, oh, I got this, this, and this. Like they would be a little more flowy and a little more compassionate. And I honestly think this would complement a Virgo. I would recommend the 12th house. And I don't always recommend the opposite for signs, because sometimes I'm like,
yeah,
it's gonna be awful. But no, I think this one could complement a Virgo sun for sure.
I have a chart pulled up and I just have to ask because I'm curious, and it's it's Moon and Jupiter in the 12th house, and they're both Virgo.
Okay. Moon and Jupiter in the 12th house. I would say this person likes big animals. I know that sounds weird, but like a big dogs, or maybe even like this infatuation with like large animals like elephants and bigger things. So a lot of times, like one of the things I advise people with Saturn in the 12th house with Virgo, and especially Virgo, because Virgo is the 6th house pets. We've kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. It can indicate, like, again, I'm bringing up death twice in one life. That's crazy because I never talk about it. But I'm like, be careful and don't get trampled by a horse. Please be safe. Because there is that kind of like, especially with the degrees and you look at other things in their chart, it's like sometimes you see things and you're just like, just be cautious around large animals. Just gonna throw it out there. Just be cautious. I hope it sticks with you if you're ever somewhere weird and you find yourself like, oh, I should probably be cautious. Maybe I saved a life. Who knows? But I definitely think that that person, I would say they're very more in tune with their emotions than a typical Virgo moon.
Okay.
Virgo moon being in the 12th house could give this person an advantage of exploring their emotions, thinking logically, but also like diving in a little deeper and processing, the kind of house saying they don't process earlier. This house would help that that logical side be a little more softened, and to be a little more like, oh, okay, well, I can process this and think about it and feel it, allow us to feel. And then having your moon and your Jupiter so close, what's the degrees between the two?
21 and 22. They're like right next to each other.
Okay, yeah. This is I would say a person that's very lucky in their emotional awareness. There's probably highly emotionally intelligent. They've maybe been lucky in life to not have so many things hit them with emotional baggage, things like that. So I would say it's a pretty lucky placement to have.
Cool.
I like when I see the moon and Jupiter within a couple of degrees of each other, because then that signifies that somebody has, again, that peace and that abundance that Jupiter brings right next to the place where they hold emotions and where their emotional life lessons and things. It's not bad to have.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, very cool.
And it's close to the ascendant too. So when Jupiter and the moon close to the ascendant, because if they're at 21, 22 degrees, the ascendant is right there. So yeah, it's all around. I would say that's pretty good. Is the ascendant in Virgo or is it in Libra?
Libra.
Okay. Even better. You're probably beautiful. Wherever you are.
Yes.
All things good.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing. I was going to pull up and see what the date is for July. July. I cannot stop sneezing. It's so windy. Excuse me. Astrology. The 25th of July, we will be doing Libra. I'm excited. Yay.
Yay. All Libras, tune in.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I feel like I can talk the most shit about Libras too because I am a Libra. So pay attention. Stop staring at yourself in the mirror. I don't do that, but I do know a lot of Libras that can't stop staring at themselves in the mirror. So
I also know those people.
I'm like, girl, guy, it's fine. Mostly guys, though. Actually, now that I think about it.
Oh my god, a Libra man.
They love themselves.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's good. You should love yourself.
Yeah. Somebody has to.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Well, thank you. It was lovely. Sorry I couldn't make it to you. We've had so much family stuff, and it's just been great being here. It's just we have a lot.
We'll come to you. It's all good.
Yes, come to Oklahoma.
We will.
Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.